What you doing, Rexy Rex? Huh? Did you poop in the cornfield?
Probably.
No, he did.
There's one piece of corn that's gonna be like 3 feet taller than everyone else's. Alright guys, so here we are at Jeremy Bush's house. He's about an hour, a little over an hour north of Marion County, and he offered us a place to reinforce the trailer hitch on the new home. Unfortunately, we spent all night doing that. Saturday night. It rained out at what, 5 o'clock or something like that? It rained out.
By the time we left, because we had to load, like, finish putting the car back together.
Yeah, because we had the whole motor apart.
We had to load it up and everything like that. So by the time we left,
I got done working on the car about 7 o'clock in the morning. Then woke up about 9:30 in the morning. This is Saturday morning, Friday into Saturday. And then, yeah, me and Nathan, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Me and Nate, we spent up all night getting that thing together. And then Corey Butcher came and got us some push rods and stuff like that. So we were able to start the car up right around town at 5 o'clock or something like that, 6 o'clock. And maybe a little bit earlier.
It hadn't been rained out yet, but when Corey brought us the push rods.
Yeah. And then about an hour after that, the rain started coming in. And so we just threw everything in the trailer. And unhooked and came up here. So we'll walk in here. So the truck was always used to haul a fifth wheel tractor or fifth wheel stacker for sprint car stuff out of Kansas. We took the trip out there. That's in the last video if you want to check it out. We got done racing Sunday, whatever, we shot out there and spent the week out there. So that's the last video. And then unfortunately they just didn't haul a tag trailer with it. And right now we have our 34-foot 2-car stacker up for sale. Got smooth sides and cabinets and all the rest of it. 4-post lift ramp. That's up for sale. We got a couple people that want to come look at it this week, but we haven't been in New York. So we went and reinforced the trailer hitch. Doubled it up to add a whole lot more rigidity to it. So we gotta thank Jeremy. We got that all secure. I'm gonna redo a couple little things here, but it's plenty strong to get us home, and we'll be putting on quite a few miles. But we're looking for a gooseneck 3-car stacker that's budget friendly. We're far from fancy. This truck's a 95, but they kept it up in pretty dang nice shape. Besides the right rear corner that, man, that was our fault. So we'll have to, I'm gonna try to fix that. We dinged it. It's all 100% cosmetic, but I damn near cried. But here we are at Jeremy's place. He's got a cool little lathe here and stuff like that. And he's got some really cool stuff. So show a couple pictures of what these people are about to see in the video. As you can see, you get a idea of what you're about to see here shortly. And
How's you gotta keep talking.
So as you can see, these are all some pretty old school tractors from the late 1800s and early 1900s up to like the 1920s or so. And Nichols and Shepard and stuff like that, and some really cool stuff. So let's go out here and we'll check out. Jeremy will take us a walk out there. Sometimes he's a little on the shy side, but we'll get him talking.
Just talk to Nick.
So there's his daughter, Brooke-Ann. They got a little dirt track that he made in the back. And they got a couple of go-karts that you can go bumping each other around and doing the circle track stuff. I might have to go, I don't know, fix your hair or something like that, come bop you a couple times. So explain this big one here. This is Nichols and Shepard's, and they made it in Michigan?
Yep, Battle Creek, Michigan. And this is a 2070 horsepower. 70 horsepower on the flywheel, 20 horsepower on the drawbar. And
what kind of torque though?
this is probably about 4,000 foot-pounds of torque on this
4,000 foot-pounds of torque. So like everyone thinks about horsepower, but horsepower is like, that's just a number. Torque is like how much work the thing could do. And
this weighs about 24,000 pounds.
24,000.
And you know, we have a lot of fun. We go to a lot of shows in the summertime, and this one here I actually got out of Nebraska. It sat out in the guy's place for 20 some years without being touched, moved, or anything like that. And
Nebraska is nice because it's fairly dry out there.
Dry climate.
So the stuff doesn't go to hell.
Yep. But we have big shows we go to are like National Thresher Show up in Wasion, Ohio. Our local 5 Point Steam Threshers in Perrysburg, Ohio, and Findlay, Northwest Ohio Antique Machinery Association of Findlay, Ohio.
How many of these are in like this type of region? Are they pretty rare, or that's the first time I've ever laid eyes on one?
Our area, Northwest Ohio, is probably one of the most concentrated areas for steam engines. We got a big group of guys in our area. There's probably 100 of these within like a 60-mile radius of here. And
cool.
Like I said, it's probably one of the most highly concentrated areas for steam engines. A lot of people, you know, they never come around or see this kind of stuff and don't know anything about it. I try to get everyone I know to go out to the shows and stuff, at least see it firsthand. And
we'd have to go out there and see them run or something like that. That'd be pretty freaking cool.
Get them up on there, take them for a ride, and beld up to something. You know, we beld up like sawmills, threshing machines. We do plowing with them. Some of our shows, we have a prony brake, which is a dyno. You can beld up and test your horsepower. They have what's called a Baker fan, and that's just to put a load under the engine so you can tune your engine basically. Baker fan's like the old school laptop.
That's cool.
You put your engine under a load, and you can do your fine tuning and adjusting on the
for your pressures and stuff like that. And
mainly just your clearances, your bearings and stuff like that. These are all just poured Babbitt bearings.
Okay. How often do you have to replace those?
It just depends. When you pour those, you build them up, more.
So a Babbitt bearing is
you
like
caps.
you melt it, right? You melt it and you put it into a form, and then you just keep on oiling them or grease them, right?
Yep.
And just like back in the 30 when we first bought or when we got that car, that thing had Babbitt bearings in it as well. And they just when they wear out, you just put new ones in it. But like right now we run like a Clevite 77 bearing that's it's got a metal base, and then it's got like a copper filament laid to it, right? But back in the day they didn't have like that technology to bond the metals and stuff like that, so they used just a soft Babbitt bearing, and that's where the crankshaft or any of your rotating components would sit in a Babbitt bearing. So that's cool. You got to look at the steering on this. So there's no normal steering arms or anything on this thing. It's just got these big chains on here, and when you turn the steering wheel, it spins this. So you see how this chain is on the bottom side and this chain's on the top side. So when you are turning it, one's going to pull and one's going to push. So when you pull and push, like he said, it was something like 50 turns lock to lock or something like that.
Yeah, you can go outside and check the one that's outside and do it for yourself and count them.
I think you're going to do that. No. So he says it's something like 50 turns lock to lock. We'll get these to turn from full left to full right is something like 50 turns on the steering wheel. So like back in the day, like of course this stuff made the work on the farm a whole lot easier, but it definitely wasn't like today's stuff. There's a lot of manual labor that was involved in doing this. So you said some of them burned straw, coal, or wood.
Yeah.
In the fires.
Most of them are all coal and wood. There's a few that were designed for straw, which you have to keep. In fact,
straw burns so fast though. Like, how do you keep the fire going?
There's a friend of mine. He's got a straw burner engine in Iowa, and they just had a show out there here not too long ago. There's some videos of that online on Facebook and stuff. If everyone just look up straw burning steam engine, it's pretty neat because you have like a chute, and you have to have a big pile behind you all the time because you're constantly feeding the straw in. Because the inside of the firebox is set up totally different, so you don't just blow all the straw right out of your tubes. There's your tubes that come all the way through the barrel there. It's surrounded by water. So you have a shield behind there if you're burning straw, so it doesn't just the draft doesn't just pull all the straw right through.
So inside those tubes, there's water all on the so in each one of these. So the tubes is the heat,
Yep, the tubes
Right?
go all the way
Like-
to the firebox.
So it's a reverse radiator essentially, right?
Basically.
Instead of having water coming through the tubes, you have heat coming through the tubes, and instead of having air pass around the tubes, you have water on the tubes.
Yep, and
Right,
you're heating
right.
that water with the heat going through the tubes.
So you see how much the surface area of all those tubes, and how deep is that box?
Oh,
Those tubes are what, like 6 feet long or something like that?
that's probably about 8, probably 9 foot.
So like each one of these tubes, imagine all that surface area per tube, and they're 9 feet long. So you get a lot of surface area to heat up that water to be able to turn it into steam power. That's freaking cool. That's a lot of surface area there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like damn near 40 tubes in that thing. That's wild. Want to explain the rivets? How you were explaining it a little bit yesterday?
Yeah, they didn't have welders back then. So any joint on these old machines are all riveted. You can see, this is where the barrel overlaps. You got 2 rows of rivets here. This is where your front flue sheet ends and goes into the smoke box. That's all riveted. Everything on here, is either riveted or bolted. There's no welds. They didn't have that technology back then. They didn't even have, torches weren't even common. Oxygen and acetylene torches weren't even common back then. So when they needed to put a hole in something, they just drilled. They drilled the holes out. They just take, like a 1/2-inch drill bit, and you can still see, because, I've had the stack off, I've replaced that before. You can see all the series of drill holes all the way around. That's how they drilled big holes back then.
And this is just a lap joint here.
Yeah.
But you said there was another style that they butt it. And
Yeah,
then they
the later style, the newer ones, the 2 pieces butted together, then you have a strap that's riveted on each side of the seam.
And those have, like, you said 3 rivets per side?
Sometimes. Yep, sometimes they'll have 2 rows of rivets on each side, sometimes they'll have 3. And Canada had different rules and regulations back when these were in use, and you had to have a heavier boiler to operate in Canada after a certain time period. And those had to be butt strap and heavier material. And they wouldn't allow these to be sold in Canada or used, I guess, if it had a lap seam boiler. And a lot of them, they were built by, there was some Canadian manufacturers too, but even some U.S. manufacturers that wanted to sell their product up there, they had to revamp their tooling and stuff to make it so they could sell them out west. I mean, these were really popular out west for breaking the ground for the first time, and about the...
They're probably using stuff like this to start building the roads and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
Like out
they
west?
did. Yeah, there's all kinds of pictures of them building roads, and the biggest thing was just breaking the ground out there. The engines out there, this is what you consider like kind of your average size steam engine. 16 horsepower to 20 horsepower are probably your most common sizes that you're going to see, especially in this area. You get out west, you get them twice the size, because they needed the big engines to open up these thousands and thousands of acres out there, plow it up, and get it ready to farm. And over time, those big engines became obsolete. I mean, they were hard to move around. They were hard to move from farm to farm to do thrashing and sawing and stuff like that. And one of the things about around here, a lot of these engines didn't survive our area because we're so close to industry. And during the war effort and for World War II,
They need the metal?
they needed the metal, and all these things got scrapped out. And
Yeah, because you think about this is really high quality, thick metal, and that's the reason why they started building like wooden based cars back in whatever it was, the 40s, was it? Like, was it?
they use wood framing in cars. I mean, not for like the main frame, but
Like the woody
for,
wagons and stuff like that, right? That was what, 40s? 40s to
Oh yeah, I mean,
Like-
yeah, probably in the 30s and 40s. I mean,
30s and 40s for like the war effort, because they needed the
all the steel and
they
aluminum.
needed the high quality
and
metal
metals they
for
could.
ships and for the tanks. So they regulated the car manufacturers and stuff like that on how much metal they could use.
Now, like out west, where you weren't around industry like you are around here, you got you know, Toledo, Cleveland, Detroit, and all that stuff. You know, you got the big factories and stuff that were just producing airplanes, ships, whatever for war effort in the 40s. Out west, they didn't have that, so a lot of the engines remained untouched, or people would just take whatever they could get off by hand and haul that stuff to the scrap yards. So out west, they're a lot more survived out there than they did around here. Plus, their climate's a lot better, and these things are
Just like normal vehicles.
yeah. I mean,
Stuff up in here in the Northeast.
granted, you're not in the
last.
salt, but you're in kind of a wet climate, so a lot of these things. I mean, the
And a very
boilers,
fluctuating climate.
the boilers are, you know, that's a big thing to have a good, safe, clean boiler, because if you wanted to replace this boiler, it's going to cost you about $50,000 to $60,000.
Holy crap.
And when you're looking for a steam engine, you want to make sure you have a good boiler, or a lot of money if you're going to have to replace it. I got a couple of friends.
Basically, the boiler is worth probably just as much as a tractor, right?
In some cases, yeah. They can be very expensive if you don't know what you're looking at. If you think you're just gonna go buy one, you gotta have someone that knows what they're doing look at it with you. Because you know, we have to have these inspected by the state every 3 years. We have to be licensed operators by the state now to operate these after an accident happened 20 years ago in Medina, Ohio. But most of the people in the hobby are, everyone pretty much knows each other. I mean, across the country for the most part, everyone's pretty good operators, safe operators, and you know, it's a good thing that, you know, we're such a close community, close group. I mean,
So there's not a
it's
lot
a
of
super fun hobby.
there's not a lot of pressure in these things, but it's just a ridiculous amount of volume. So it creates a
This
pressure
here,
vessel is just,
this here, I run 150 pounds of steam on this, and
which doesn't seem like a ridiculous amount of pressure when you think about like a nitrous bottle or something like that. Let's say it's like 1,200 pounds of pressure, but the thing is the volume that's in here
Yeah, there's a
would
lot
be
of
like
volume.
probably equivalent to like, I don't know, a couple hundred nitrous bottles. So even though the pressure isn't as extreme, the volume that is there is just, there's a ridiculous amount of volume in there for as far as pressure goes. So you don't need as much. That 150 pounds can do a hellacious explosion if you don't know what the heck you're doing. But they got like up here, you said it was the darker one was the pop-off valve, or the shinier one?
Yep, the small one, the darker one is the safety valve, pop-off valve.
So it's like a pop-off valve. So like
So when you reach 150 pounds, it releases steam. It drops between 3 and 4 pounds of pressure. And if you're a really good operator, you can run your engine right at 150 pounds, which that's where this is set. You can run it without it popping off. I mean, you can control your fire and your water enough to keep it from popping. And you know, certain occasions, like if you're belted up to a sawmill or a thresh machine and you've got a really good fire going, you got a lot of steam, you got your steam pressure right up to 150 pounds, something breaks on the sawmill or they're switching logs and it takes longer to put a new log up on, then you'll pop off because you can't control it. I mean, you can only put so much water in. You put too much water in, you're gonna pull water over, which you're sucking water into the cylinder, which that's not good.
So you could like hydraulic it, or?
Yeah, you can blow the head off because water doesn't combust.
Yep.
So you got to be careful you don't get too much water in. You'll suck water through. You know, when it pulls steam out for the cylinder, you're pulling it from the high point in the dome up there. You can see that valve that sticks out. That's where you're pulling the steam to supply the cylinder.
Okay.
It goes into the steam chest, that's where your valve is back there. Then it's forced into the cylinder.
So this is a crank essentially.
Yep, that's a crank
This
disc.
is the rod.
Yep.
And then there's a piston in here, basically.
Yep. That piston is 8.5 by 12.
8.5 by 12. Jesus, that's cool. And then this little guy right up here, that you just fill that with oil, and that's just
That's grease in there.
grease in there, and it just keeps it lubed up a little bit.
Yep. That lubes your crank pin.
Cool as hell. That's wild.
Yeah, you can see better on the one outside. You know, the crank and stuff, it's down a lot lower. And
Want to walk out there and check that one out?
Yeah.
That's his daughter's tractor, so. How old you got for her when she was 2?
yeah, Brooke got it when she was 2 for her 2nd birthday.
Now, Jeremy and Brooke, we met them. How long ago did we meet you guys?
A couple years ago at Marion County.
A few years ago at Marion County, the place that we were supposed to race at last week or Saturday. And they travel around quite a bit doing coming to the no prep races with us and helping us at the track or doing different little things. And this is our first time coming to visit them.
Rex, come here. You been doing some cocaine? What's on your nose?
I see him digging in the stones in there.
What are you
He
doing?
probably buried some treats out there for you.
I think he did bury a bone out there. Caught. Rex, you're busted.
This one's a 1340 horsepower.
So that's the firebox back there, and they keep wood up here and coal up here. So there's wood on that side and coal on this side. You just keep on stocking it up to keep the heat. That's freaking cool. That's a lot of freaking work.
And I was showing you the other day, you couldn't see it on the other engine, so back in there, this is the injector. This is how you put the water in the engine, or in the boiler.
Mm-hmm.
When you turn your water valve on, just the water valve's the one going to the tank with the hose there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you open up your steam, and it siphons and forces.
So how many gallons of water do you hold on this thing?
The big one is right around 400 gallons, is what that holds. And this one I've never measured it. It's probably right around 250 gallons, something like that.
That's cool.
I'd say probably 200 gallon on this one is what the boiler will hold.
So back in the day, they probably didn't have clean water. Was that like a big issue, or like did they just use pond water or something like that? Or like where did they get their water from?
Creek water, pond water, you know, anywhere they could. Well, wells.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they were going out in a field somewhere they didn't have water, they pulled water wagons with them with clean water in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing with the boiler. I mean, depending on the water where you're at, you know, the quality of water. I mean,
because like
that water can destroy a boiler too.
Like a hard water, like something that doesn't have like
It'll build up scale on the inside and you know, get it all crusty, and it'll just deteriorate the inside of the boiler. I mean, or rust from the inside out. You know, certain areas like where I got my the big engine in Nebraska. I mean, that area is known for really good water and a somewhat dry climate. So, you know, boilers from that area are always in pretty good shape, unless they were abused and never cleaned out. You know, you look at the boiler. This one doesn't have it because this is a dry bottom. It's got one handhole down here, like clean out plates to clean out your boiler. Some of them have been sitting for, you know, 60, 80 years. They'll leave them handhold plates in there, and it'll just be full of scale, or you can see mud in there. Then that obviously will hold the moisture, and it just rots the boiler out. So keeping them clean and maintaining them, it's a big thing. It's a huge expense if you got to replace one of these boilers.
I'd imagine that. And they were like, if you were going to replace boiler, you got to take all the rivets out, right?
Just it depends what you have to do. You know, if you have to.
Does someone like climb up in there and like replace it, or like?
No, like I said, it just depends what needs replaced on the boiler and where it's thin. You know, some boiler repair shops, I mean, they'll just do like the bottom of the barrel where stuff settles, or the firebox, which is suspended in the back here where your fire is, and you can see, you know, like all these rivets and stuff here, and you can see them mainly on the side. You have to have stay bolts in between to keep that from, you know, because the heat, you know, expansion and contraction, you got to keep that all in place. You don't want that moving around in there. So you have the stay bolts keeping that where it needs to be. And you got to take all those out, drill and tap a new firebox, put that in there. You usually have to take off the back head to do a firebox replacement. But even an engine this
Is this
size,
one operable?
Yeah, this one we've had out this summer. Been waiting, to clean this one up and restore it. I mean, mechanically and boiler wise, it's in perfect shape. Just need to do cosmetic cleanup and restoration, make a new water tank and stuff for it, something that's more original. The top piece is the original on the coal bunker there yet, but cleaning up all these parts. And
There's a lot of pieces in there.
yeah,
That is cool.
but yeah, I mean, these things here, like I said, just the pictures you can find of these things falling through bridges, and a lot of them are like old newspaper articles where it says, so many people perished in this accident and stuff like that, because, they're probably just in a hurry to get to the next job or get to the next field. And, when these things were new, I mean, they were probably excited, it's like their first steam engine, their first time, working ground without horses. And
Some people won't appreciate this video, but there's some followers that will really appreciate this video, and that's okay. I think it's cool as hell. Just the way the technology is, and like partially how far the technology has came since back then, but a lot of the engineering that was in these things back in the early 1900s is almost like, it's unbelievable. A lot of the technology that's in this and the amount of operation that these skilled operators had to have to be able to run these machines safely and be able to accomplish the tasks that they had. That's freaking cool as hell.
Another big risk back in the day when they were using these, bridges were designed for horses and wagons and buggies and stuff like that. A friend of mine out of Montana, he has a huge collection of steam engine memorabilia and pictures and stuff, and he posts on Facebook all the time. And he'll just, like, for one day he'll post like 20 pictures of steam engines that have fallen through bridges. And
Hey, think about it, like a horse and a buggy, that like a couple horses are what, 2,500 pounds, and maybe. A buggy's maybe another 2,500 pounds, so you're maybe at 5,000 pounds. And you try going over that same bridge at 25,000 pounds. It's kind of like the bus and the trailer when we were going to go to that street race.
Yeah.
We were on a 5-ton bridge, 3-ton bridge, and we weighed a little more than 3 tons.
This engine's about 13 or 14,000. The other one's about 24,000. Let's say this is almost exactly half the size of what the 20 horse is. And they're just cruising along, and next thing you know, they're falling through a bridge. And some of them, it's not just little bridges over ditches. I mean, they're big, like trestle bridges going over rivers and stuff like that.
A couple hundred feet.
Yeah.
And then there was that big flat deal up there, that big flat pulley, and that was for a big canvas belt that'd go to stationary equipment. Whether it was like a, that'd be like what, like a sawmill or something like that.
Sawmill, thresh machine.
What is a threshing machine? Is that like a hay baler or something like that?
No, a thresh machine is just like a combine is like when you're harvesting wheat. You bind it and you shock it. You take a binder out in the field and it cuts the wheat and it puts it in a bundle. It ties it up. It uses like the
yarn type stuff.
Yeah, and it lays it down on the field. Then you go through and you put it in bundles in the field. You stack it to dry. And then once the wheat is dry, you go pick it up, load it on wagons. You have your thresh machine set up, and you pitch the bundles in the thresh machine that's powered with a steam engine or a tractor, or however you want to do it.
So the thresher is like the loader to put them up in the barns or something like that? Or?
Nope, the thresh machine is what separates the grain from the straw. Just what a combine does today. See, a combine is short for combined harvester. A combine does you don't have to bind and shock. It cuts the wheat and threshes it at the same time. And blows the straw out the back.
So this is like, the wheat is the top part of it and the grain's the bottom part of it? Is that how that works?
The grain is in the top of like a wheat stalk, I guess you can call it.
Because the wheat and the what's called is the same thing, right? It's just different parts of the plant?
The wheat is what you want to separate from the straw for the grain.
Okay.
And that's what you make your flour and everything out of. So the thresh machine takes the grain off the straw, separates it, and it bags the grain that you want to keep. And like I said, that's what a thresh machine does. And there's a thresh machine for corn, or corn is called a corn shredder, which you bundle your corn stalks, you set them up in the field, let them dry, same thing as you would for wheat, and you load them up on wagons, and you pitch the bundles of corn into the corn shredder, and it separates the ears from the corn stalk. And then if you want to take the corn off the cob, they got a separate machine to do that with a corn shredder, and that shreds the
That's cool.
the rest of the corn stalk and the leaves and stuff like that, and blows it in a pile. And with a thresh machine, you know, the straw, once it separates the wheat from the straw, it blows the straw into a pile. Then people could come in and bale that if they wanted to, or just load it up, you know, and take it back home, put it in the barn for bedding and stuff for animals.
That's cool. So guys, there's a whole lot of information for you. And personally, I'm a fiend for that type of stuff. Like I'm an addict for that type of stuff. Whether it's car stuff or whether it's old machinery equipment, I think it's freaking cool as hell. So like, our traveling for the year is almost done until I get my medical stuff situated. But come springtime, when we're traveling again, if you got some cool stuff that you're willing to show us, or whether you're willing to show us and like not do a video, hey, I'm fine for it. But luckily Jeremy was kind enough to let us show us to us and offer us his shop so we could fix the trailer hitch and stuff like that. And he was willing to do a short video for you guys. So we'll give him a good thank you and everything like that, and we greatly appreciate it. But if you're in the area that we're gonna be traveling, and you have a little bit of time to show us some of your cool stuff, whether it's I don't know, we've seen some stuff as cool as some old what were those things called? Not Matchbox, like pedal car collections, to old Coca-Cola machine collections, like old big refrigerators and stuff like that, to a whole bunch of different things. And some people are a little bit more private about their collections and stuff like that, and that's perfectly fine and perfectly understandable. And if you're willing to show it to us, and we got to keep it under our own hats, that's fine too. But if you're willing to do a little video or something like that, and show all the hard work and stuff that you've put into your stuff, we're willing to show it to the world, and we have a lot of appreciation for it. So it's freaking cool as hell. It's cool as all hell. And this is the first time I've ever seen, like, I mean, we've seen them at like the some train stuff, but like steam engines on tractors, like that's the first time I've ever really laid eyes on one, and it's cool.